So far, the only thing I really regret is marrying too early. If you have something happening around you, and you married or got together with someone too early, you really need to be cautious. Of course, if your family is good, and your parents can support you, that's another story. But if you were born in a common environment, without resources or support, and you feel really special, especially if you're a guy, it's better to marry a bit later, preferably after 30. If that's the case, you can work harder in society for a few years, accumulate more experience, and earn more money. This way, your options for a partner will increase. Otherwise, if you're too poor and mentally immature, who will you marry? It's not about whether you want to marry or not, but you simply can't find someone to marry. Society is very cruel. What era are we living in now? Poverty and marriage only bring sadness. This phrase still makes sense to this day. Secondly, after facing society for about 10 years, your mindset will become more mature, and you will have more time to reflect on whether you are really ready to marry, and what kind of woman or man is suitable for you. These things need to be experienced. They need time to solidify. When you are young, you have no understanding of marriage at all. You are completely confused, thinking that just going to the movies or having dinner is enough to get married. Marriage is a very important thing. It may not decide our fate, but it can influence our fate. So, family and friends, in relationships you can be confused, but when it comes to marriage and having children, it must be taken seriously. Do you understand? Why do I tell many male classmates not to get married too early? Because the economic foundation determines your superstructure. You can speak with a clear conscience. Can a successful man in his career marry an 18-year-old at 40? But can a 40-year-old woman marry an 18-year-old man? It's hard to say. The upbringing of boys and girls is completely different. For all of you present, a boy's entire career ladder will rise, and his vision will change. Today, you love him very much, feel that the two of you have bought a cup of milkshake with the money your parents saved up, and think you are both having a great time. But sorry, those of you with sons, please raise your hands. You must tell him that society is very realistic. This cup of milkshake might be lost after countless conflicts between you two. In the middle of it all, the intervention of a drink could cause your partner to disappear. The decision you cannot make is that every time you argue, a better man may appear in his life. On Valentine's Day, because you are too busy and have no time to accompany him, a great male friend appears in his life, driving a Rolls-Royce, and when the trunk opens, it is filled with roses. Because he has feelings for you, he cannot possibly give you up. But don't underestimate the power of the roses. He takes the roses and throws them on the ground, saying, "The flowers are not for you. I will give you the Rolls-Royce. Ha ha ha." You will suddenly realize that your true feelings do not hold much value in reality. So, male classmates, please think, what can make him continue to love you? Is it your looks or your talent? I believe it should be your talent and your absolute value. He may not love you for a lifetime, but if you have absolute leverage, he will not leave you because you will continuously provide him with a higher spiritual value, which is far above everything else. The guys present also don't need to dress up handsomely every day because high-cognition women never think that looks alone can attract them. In the world of wealthy women, handsome men are the least valuable, because in the world of wealthy women, there are no shortages of handsome men, and the same goes for the female classmates present. In the world of wealthy men, the least valuable are beautiful women. You must tell him that society is very realistic. First establish a family and then a career. That is an old notion. From someone who has been through it, here's an important piece of advice. If you are an ordinary person without a solid financial background but want to achieve a higher standard of living, I suggest you do not marry too early. Based on my personal experience, I want to mention 2 points. First, entering marriage will lead you into a relatively fixed pattern. You, in your 20s, once you start preparing for marriage, it means you will soon have to prepare for a house, a car, and a dowry. Your parents' savings will be quickly drained. And when you work, besides family expenses, you will also face a mortgage, car loans, and a series of other debts. Furthermore, to welcome a new life, your energy will be drawn and occupied. This relatively fixed pattern will bind your thoughts and ambitions, making it very difficult to step back and try other things, and you will slowly become a mediocre and stable existence. I am not denying marriage. I just want to say that, at an age where career should be prioritized, don't give yourself too many distractions. The idea of first establishing a family and then a career is an old notion. The second point is that after forming a family, you will fear failure more, even be afraid to fail, which will cause you to miss many important opportunities in life. Many people act quickly and decisively before marriage, but after marriage, they become hesitant. Before marriage, if you are well, the whole family does not go hungry. When an opportunity arises, you don't have to think too much and you just dive in. But after marriage, you have to consider your wife and children and the family expenses. Every step you take, you dare not make a mistake, and the things to consider will only increase, making you more and more cautious. At the same time, your partner's nagging will also affect your choices. If you want to start a business, he will say no, that the risk is too great now, and too many people are losing money. If you want to move to another city to develop, he will say no, that he needs a husband, that the children need a father. Family becomes a heavy shackle, and you are afraid to take a step forward. Day by day, it's like boiling a frog in warm water. So, don't think that marrying late is disrespecting your parents or feeling inferior compared to your peers. A 21-year life is a marathon. Without a career foundation, an early marriage will ultimately drag you into the quagmire of life.
While Chinese men encourage younger individuals not to marry too early, especially if they were not born into favorable financial conditions, women have an opposing perspective.
What if you come from an ordinary family, have no background, no good education, and your personal conditions are quite average, I suggest you get married early. That's right, get married early. In fact, most people will find it very difficult to escape the fate of being ordinary throughout their lives. Even those living in big cities like Shenzhen may not be able to buy a car or a house. Do not listen to those online who say that getting married early will ruin your life. If you do not get married, the likelihood is that your options will only decrease. If your conditions are good, your family is good, and you have a good background, you can afford to wait. But if you are just an ordinary guy, I really recommend you get married early and stop delaying. When you realize it, you will be older, and it will be very difficult to find someone suitable in their 20s. It's not that the youth of girls is ending, it's just that it becomes hard to find someone. In fact, when ordinary guys reach their 30s, both guys and girls are limited by age. If you believe that girls in the world will also think that you are from the 80s and still haven't found a partner, they might think there is something wrong with you. They will have some psychological preconceptions and will set certain thresholds for you. When you are in your 20s, it's the normal age to find a partner and get married, and they will test you again and again. You don't believe it? I could really go and interview them, ask them. Those in their 20s only want to grow alongside people their age. But if they are to find an older guy, they have expectations for these older men. Their requirements for them are not just about age, they also relate to the social status that comes with it. The accumulation of wealth and other things, it's all a jumbled mess that you can't even begin to imagine. Because the naive and sweet girls have an unrealistic imagination about the domineering CEO and the warm-hearted uncle, which you really cannot comprehend. They reference dramas on television, which is quite terrifying.
If you are an ordinary person, never marry too early. Never buy a house too early. Early marriage and having many children is a privilege of the rich. Because if you are ready to marry at the age of 20, it means you need to buy a house right away. Prepare the dowry, renovate and host the banquet. Manage family relationships. You will quickly spend the savings of 2 generations. And still have to take on a mortgage. But then you will be pressured to have children. Your energy will be consumed by the new life. Buying and picking up the child. Tuition fees, and the energy and money left over will be what you can use to focus on your career. Your parents want you to marry early. Your parents also want you to take civil service exams. To enter the system, this is all based on their experience. And it's a way of showing love for you. But it is exactly the limitations and flaws of that generation. Because among them, those who entered the system benefited. And those who married early and had children also benefited. But today's era is completely different from that time. When you are struggling in life, it is best to be single. To start a business or change careers, etc., these major decisions require courage. In your 20s, you have nothing to fear. The cost of making mistakes is the lowest in your life. Because you can afford to fail. But, 0.2s, when you are young and already burdened with a mortgage and a car loan, have to take care of children and manage a family, and a bunch of things tying you down, you actually won't have that courage. You can't handle that failure. Marrying too early cuts off various impulses of an ordinary person. Even if I finish speaking, it won't change you. Just as you can't change your mom, isn't that right?
The marriage age of men is also very important. If the optimal age for women to choose a partner is from graduation until before 28 years old, is this the highlight moment for women in choosing a partner? Then, the optimal age for men to choose a partner is from graduation until before 33 or 35 years old, unless your career is developing exceptionally well. Otherwise, if you want to find a 25-year-old girl, others will think you're too old. As I said, even some young girls, who don't understand much, might want to find an older guy. But their parents will definitely consider, isn't this age a bit too old? They will likely have some objections. You shouldn't feel that. As long as I have money. When I'm 40, I can still find a girl in her 20s. You need to have enough money for that. In simple terms, your money. When you're 40, if you can't reach a certain level, to put it plainly, 50, 100 or more, if you're still making 20 or 30, compared to those men around 30 who are also making 20 or 30, what advantage do you have? You don't have any advantage at all. As I said, if you're 40 years old, and your annual income is not over 100, or not over 50, and you want to find a 25-year-old girl, you are much older than her. Are her parents foolish? They are very aware of that. I'm talking about those well-educated girls, with a correct worldview, who come from a good family. How could they possibly want a man who is so much older than them? Yes, for a 25-year-old woman, a 40-year-old man really seems like an old man. So, let me tell you, men should also get married early. Why? If you're 25 and you're talking to a girl about your promises, saying you're a potential investment, she might be willing to believe it. Do you understand? You're only 25. Still young. I'll marry you and have kids with you. What if I become successful in the future, right? I'm the person who will fight alongside you. But if you're 35 or 40, and you tell the girl that the future is promising, but at this moment, you haven't earned much money, who will believe you? You're already 35, 40. To be frank, in big companies they start laying off at 35. There aren't many promotion opportunities anymore. If you say you still have a promising future, the girl feels unfortunate, dude. Let me tell you. Although men's age is somewhat more flexible than women's age in choosing partners, it's not that flexible. Why? Because when getting married, men have to pay for these things. Like the house, the car, the dowry, and all the wedding expenses. These are all the man's responsibilities. If you don't have that much money, as I said, if you're a young guy, if your things are simple, that's okay for the girl. But you're more than 10 years older than her, and you're still picking up scraps, then she might think, it's better to marry a younger guy without money. At least she's still looking for someone young, right? So, I hope men can realize this issue too. Unless you really have great capability. If you truly have great ability, then that's another story. As I said, someone could get married even at 80. The question is, you need to see if at 40 years old, or at 35 years old, you can have that capability. Many people have high aspirations but low skills, thinking they have that capability. That's very sad. Do you understand?
This topic is frequently discussed in the videos on this channel, where we talk about older women who prioritize their careers. In the comments of these videos, there's always a simple explanation. These women are in a male-dominated environment. While a man doesn't exactly have an expiration date when it comes to relationships, love, and building a family, women face a different logic. I agree with the opinions of many Chinese men. A young person should not rush into marriage. The beginning of adulthood should focus on career and the pursuit of financial freedom so that, in the future, they do not bring a child into a world where they will face difficulties in a dysfunctional family. For me, financial problems are often the main cause of family conflicts in any part of the world. Meanwhile, women should focus their youth on building a family before, yes, turning their attention to their careers. The role of men is the opposite. I'm not sure if you agree with me, but I would like to know your opinion on this dilemma. Are Chinese men right to encourage young people not to marry so early? If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more discussions on these societal dilemmas, always from the perspective of Asian countries. I'll see you in the next video.